Welcome to Beyond the Lair, where we speak with Keerit Jutla, President and CEO of the Association of Mineral Exploration of BC. Keerit speaks about meaningful participation in the mining sector and the importance of reconciliation, education, and creating mutual respect for Indigenous people and industry. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Lair. I am your co-host, Gina Jackson Montgomery.
And I'm the other co-host, Dean Montgomery.
We are so pleased to have our good friend, Keerit Jutla, here today, who's the president and CEO of the Association of Mineral Exploration. Welcome today.
Thank you so much, Gina and Dean. Really happy to be here.
We are going to talk about so much today. In fact, we were just talking for our viewers' pleasure that is looking right now. I am wearing my mineral and exploration shirt right now, which has all the metals of copper and all of the minerals in my outfits. We were joking that our next guest will be a diamond mine expert so that I can wear diamonds. But it's so great to have you here today. I know that you are located in Vancouver. That is where you live and work and play. And tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, maybe growing up. We're going to get into what you do for a living right now. But where did you grow up and what brought you to the place where you're at right now?
Sure. Thank you so much. And really appreciate the warm welcome with the amazing mineral shirt. And I will bring diamonds next time. But I'm chatting right now from Vancouver, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh territory. So I'm originally from Southern Ontario, Burlington, Ontario, which is Mississauga of the Credit territory. I was born in St. Catharines, but grew up in Burlington, and it was a great place to grow up and live. And I think it really shaped formative years in terms of really looking at that whole kind of concept of walking two worlds, right? Figuring yourself out where you are and the world around you and how you can make the world a better place. So went from Southern Ontario to aka the center of the universe to Alberta for school, and it was incredible. It was an amazing experience. Got to learn more and see more of the country. So I was in Edmonton, Calgary, and then came out to BC for work and met my wife out here, and that's it. So truly went from east to west, and have learned so much along the way and continue learning. So that's a little snippet of where I'm from and where I go. And for a fun fact for all of those listening here is my high school was Lester B. Pearson High School in Burlington, and Dean's high school was Blakelock in Oakville, who beat us all the time in soccer and football. Different teams, same rivalry still though. So found that one out later on.
Different decades too.
Different decades, yes. I was going to say, yeah. We could pretty much be your parents. So it's true.
Yeah. So Keerit, what took you to Alberta? I know you went to school, you said, and give us a little background about how your career went from there, starting in school.
Sure. So growing up, I was always fascinated with, what makes people tick? How do you bring people together? What drives conflict? And that led me to study political science and economics. So I did that in my undergrad. And then I did my master's degree in that as well, to study conflict resolution and resource conflict. So I did that in Windsor, and it was there when I was researching more and more about, natural resources that I saw. So it's funny, only in my master's in Southern Ontario did I finally realize, we have oil sands here in Canada. and with it, I was always passionate about social justice and how all of those items intersect with economics and how we, build a province and country. So when I was reading more and more about it, I knew that that's where I wanted to, learn so much more about and apply what I had studied. So went to Edmonton to the U of A to do a law MBA degree and focused in Aboriginal law, regulatory law, and on the business side, how you can, get joint projects going, how you can break down barriers to bring people together on joint initiatives. And it was more when I was doing my internships and got to go up to Fort McMurray and Fort Chip with ACFN, MCFN, and Fort Mackay, where I learned so much more and just truly just started scratching the surface of my knowledge in terms of, this deep history and sacrosanct history and connection with Indigenous peoples in Canada, and how we can build a better future together by learning, understanding, and respecting peoples and lands to build a future that we can all benefit from. So that's where I started learning more and more about that. I started practicing in Aboriginal law then after I articled, and I was in Calgary. It brought me out to a firm in Vancouver to keep doing that work, and practiced in regulatory law, Aboriginal law, and just looking at projects all over Canada, right? So from mining, mineral exploration, oil and gas, forestry, and learning more and more on the way. I always thought I was going to go back out east after my time in Victoria, but met an amazing island gal, and that was it. So stayed out here in coastal BC, and then when I was looking at what to do next, I worked in government for a few years, but I saw like I really wanted to get back out in communities, and I wanted to just learn more from the ground up and connect with different Indigenous communities, other communities, on how we can just break down barriers and start working and doing this work together. And along the way, I met and keep meeting incredible young Indigenous entrepreneurs who are driving solutions and innovation in this area. And it is just incredible to see, especially how it relates to the future of this industry. So that's what brought me out to Alberta. That's what brought me out here, and now has led me to this great moment here talking to you two as well.
Nice. And I was going to say it was your destiny, but that would be a play on words, because everybody Keerit's wife's name is Destiny.
Yeah.
So if that isn't serendipitous, what is really?
Exactly.
That's amazing. So you're a recovering lawyer.
I am a recovering lawyer. That's why I have a smile on my face. No more billable hours. I made it out. Not going back. So, it was an amazing experience. Learned from some great people, but I really love being in this role and president CEO of AME to start innovating and looking at how we can build partnerships and advise on policy and empower young entrepreneurs. And it was, just through that serendipitous work that was able to connect with both of you. And I think it was just amazing to see the innovation and the collaboration that both of you bring to this space. And it truly brings people together. I've seen it firsthand and just really appreciate being here.
I've worked with AME BC for quite a long time and was part of BC AMTA back at the time, BC Aboriginal Mining and Training Association. And this transformation that's happening in this industry, in the mining industry or resource industry, is incredible, and it's changing. There's diversity, there's inclusion, right? First Nations are a massive part of this, and the things that you're going on are that your initiatives that you're putting forward. It's very tangible, right? We can all feel it. What is it that you felt you brought that you would say, look, this is going to happen if I can lead this?
Right. I just brought passion, brought an energy to just, start doing and putting things into practice. And especially when it comes into, reconciliation endeavors, reconciliation, right, is to start putting our money where our values are, and to start building those things moving forward. So when I came into the role, I came in and with experience and a bunch of degrees, and when I was just excited to now see and implement these values moving forward, but not also in a way that was judgmental or prejudicial, wanting to learn all across the board and all across the industry to see, okay, where are people not talking? Where are people separated from each other? And how can we, with compassion and empathy, connect and learn, but also with a certain degree of, decisiveness and a will to say, hey, this is the direction we're going in, but we can do it, right? We just have to be able to connect and talk to each other. And, coming in with that attitude and mindset, it to me, it felt like a great purpose, but it was really soon where I saw just amazing young entrepreneurs who are already doing it because they grew up doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought to myself, this is where the future is. What some of these like incredible young entrepreneurs are doing is like, this is the future. This is what we need to support, like to be able to support initiatives that are empowering, young Indigenous, youth across Canada, but also empowering people and communities to talk more to each other and to work together more. That's what I wanted to bring into this role. And I was both surprised at how many barriers there were already, like different conversations not happening or different thought processes not happening, but also what was there. I think coming in, I'm the first South Asian president CEO in this role after 100 years, but, also, with 3 graduate degrees and experience, or as my dad calls it, staying out of the real world as long as possible. Was like came here on my merits, but I I knew, and I think all of us, both of you also know what it's like when you're the other in a boardroom, right? Or you're going in with a preconceived notion if someone what someone may think of you or think or assume on your knowledge, right? And it drives me, that feeling is for that next person, no matter what their background is, where they're from, that I don't want that young person to feel that or to they don't belong there. So that's what really has been driving me in this role. And I'm just been so happy to see initiatives, that we've seen and done to say, okay, we're doing this. There's an incredible, there's this incredible couple that has this initiative called the Bears Lair Dream Camps. Saw that. Said, we are supporting this. It's happening. Right. And I think when conversations have like, well, what does it have to do with mining or mineral exploration? Like, what does it not have to do with it? Like when you're empowering young people, you're giving them the platform and the support for them to reconnect and feel so proud at who they are and what their background is, and to feel that pride and that joy, which they should feel, right? And to say, yes, this is who you are. You can keep doing this and you can keep building it. You can help build an economy that works for everyone. Like that is like, that's joyous. And that's just like an incredible direction where, I want this industry to keep going into. And when you see like, there's another, two other young Indigenous entrepreneurs we work with who are building like a future minerals leadership council. When you start seeing like undergrad students from UBC and master's students, and they hear about this table and they want to connect, and you connect them and you just see them talking and building things, is like, it's just amazing to see, right? You see the future of these industries in action. So that's what I want to keep doing and keep supporting, not only those that can get that platform to do that, but also for those who are already in some of these platforms to help them understand, here's how we go into this next paradigm, but here's why it's okay, and here's how it'll be manageable. So that's what drives me. And then when I meet amazing people like you, it adds more fuel to the fire. So yeah, thank you.
You're too kind, and and it's very reciprocal. I think 20 years ago, the diversity, the initiatives for Indigenous rights, values, women, underserved, everything would not exist. And it's come such a long way, especially in the natural resource sector. How yes, it's natural resource extraction has happened. It is happening. How do we participate in it as Indigenous communities, and how do we do what, as you called and as we like to call, reconciliation, where you have these database tangible results of what is happening now in 3 months and 6 months and 10 years. And these are really important factors to consider. But I know since you coming on, and people before you have seen the value in this as well, but you've really put this into action. And I think it's very interesting because of the synergy with your cultural background and the Indigenous with seeking with Indigenous values about family, about the environment, about working together, and just there's so many synergies with who we are as people. And maybe you can talk about that, what you've realized, because I know that you've supported Chief Gibby Jacob and Andy Keene with a great documentary called Back to the Fire, and that's teaching lessons that are going to impact the next 7 generations from our elders and from our original teachings. You promote the youth, and I'm talking, I know Edgard Volnev Cruz is one of our top dogs in respect. He's 21, he's incredible, he's a great role model. But you are also supporting the youth, and we're talking 11-year-olds up to 18-year-olds. So you've got all these bases covered in respect of support just in a small pocket of time. But maybe you can talk about how your culture and the Indigenous culture, how there's such a commonality of our values.
Yeah. And thank you for that. There's something that's just so deep and like sacrosanct in one's like heart or soul in terms of just that connection and who they are, the land that they're tied to, and that community, culture, and language that has driven them. And one of the things they say is that, for all 3 of us here, we are sitting here as like a testament to our ancestors and our parents who struggled and survived, and with perseverance and courage and compassion, and we're able to have this conversation, right? And I think that's one of those things that we're doing it with like empathy, love, and compassion, and could easily be doing it with like anger, right? And I think that every single one of us as human beings, we experience pain and trauma in our life, but we're also from communities that have experienced very, very, very significant and poignant collective traumas, and continue to in many circumstances. So I think it's one of those just deep rooted feelings of like just it's almost like it's hard to explain, or even it's just respect. It's an innate respect, and it's something that is a really deep rooted value and foundation, and in my values and culture and faith, and is something that is quite evident, quite important in many Indigenous cultures, right? And I think it's one of those things where I try to explain to members, and now I think a lot of folks are doing it more and more, is like, you can tell if someone's sincere or not. Like, you can tell if someone is approaching you with respect, or if it's performative. And that's where I think when there's so much alignment, right? Like with our elders or our family, like it's just like an unspoken respect. Like when someone's speaking, you listen. Someone needs something, you get it. Like you don't mess around with it, right? When I'm with Chief Gibby too, it's like I'm with like a grandfather or someone like that, right? It's like that's the true respect that should be given. But also I think, even though we're in mineral exploration, one of the key things that, and this is where I've almost felt like it's like a year of just having as many conversations as I can, is like it's trying to make up for lost time of people not being able to talk to each other. And whenever you say, let's say you have two individuals, they're neighbors. One neighbor is going to say, may say, look, my family came here, in 1800 something, and we've been here for 6 generations. Like, this is my home. Like, this is what we do. This is and then you have another neighbor who said, well, we've been here since time immemorial, and this was your ancestor who's come here and displaced one off the land. Like, whenever there is any conversation between people about who's connected more, it's a difficult one. Mm-hmm. And that gets right down to like the foundation of who you are and what your identity is and what you call home. But what we see way more is people who are saying to each other, we recognize that, yes, this is my home. And as someone who is, a sick Canadian and post-colonial person, is like, I have found a wonderful life because I'm here seeking refuge in someone else's home, ancestral home, and traditional home. And then as a second layer is someone else's home that was built in with a British flag as well. So now as someone who's, that third tier of then from an immigrant family who's here, is how do we show that respect and compassion to everyone who calls it home, but ensuring that we recognize that the only way forward is if it's done with respect, noting that this was someone's home since time immemorial. But if you're showing that respect, the reciprocal respect will be there to say, we want to share this with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that's where, from our culture, is in our faith is there as well. And that's where here at AME, but also it's across society, saying this is how things happen from the ground up, from person to person. How you would treat anyone is just with that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I think I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think in terms of the culture is truly rooted in that key word of respect. And, words like that really mean something. Mm-hmm. When something that says, the honor of the crown or duty to consult, that means something. That's not words. That is like, it is your duty. You have to, from every fiber in your being, ensure that you are discharging that duty. You're discharging that honor. Mm-hmm. And I think that now hopefully folks are realizing what that is, because this next generation definitely understands what that means, and they're building the future of it. So, yeah.
That's great. And so I have a question. So how would you explain to our viewers, like, what is your goal for AMEBC as it relates to your membership, right? And to Indigenous communities? Like, if you were to summarize, what would that be?
Yeah. So our members are involved in mineral exploration. So it would be, walking on land, doing rock samples, or if they get to a next stage, doing like core drilling. And now obviously all of that involves the work on the land, right? It involves claim staking. It involves items that are, that have some type of impact on land or even in communities. So with our members, we are doing that work to say, look, how can we do this in a better, more respectful way? And when, even if it is walking on land and picking up rocks, is to educate and show there is additional impacts that we want to explain why they're there, right? And that's what we've been really doing a lot this year, is bridging that gap to say, hey, if you don't know how to approach a particular nation when you're doing this work, come talk to us first. will at least show you that way. Like mineral exploration mining is one of the key drivers of the BC economy. And it has to be done in a way that is reconciliation centric and environmentally sustainable. And we can absolutely do that. Now we just have to work within our membership, which is over 5,000 people, which are companies all ranging from a big mining company to a prospector to a junior explorer to an indigenous led entity is how we can now all do that better. So that's kind of like that key, our core competency and the vision here of what we're doing.
Great answer. Yeah.
Interesting. I know that when we have something really exciting coming up, and when we were working together, when I worked at the Squamish Nation and Dean was working at a company by the name of Alltech that I ended up working at, Roundup was the biggest event for industry to come together to Vancouver, and people come from all over Canada, actually,
all over the world,
to attend Roundup. And maybe you can talk about what that conference is about and how many years it's been going on and what the intention of that conference is, because it's one of the biggest conferences in the world that comes to Vancouver.
Absolutely. So yeah, AAB Roundup is one of the biggest conferences in North America with respect to mineral exploration and mining. The conference has been going on for some time, for over 20, 30 years in different forms, maybe older than that. But what I think has been amazing to see in the last, 5 years, and especially this year, is yes, there's a key focus on what's the mineral grade and different core samples that people are bringing to showcase, but also is amazing people coming together to learn, exchange ideas, from investors to juniors to mining companies, but now with a strong focus and inclusion on Indigenous, I want to say participation, but Indigenous leadership in this sector now. We're really excited. Chief Willie Sellers is going to be doing a speech at one of our keynotes here. So Roundup is that preeminent conference that it brings over 6,000-7,000 people to do this work and to be able to interact with each other in a really meaningful way.
Yeah, it's an incredible conference, and Chief Willie Sellers from the Williams Lake First Nation is an incredible speaker. He is an author. He's a very young chief.
He's a great goalie. Great goalie.
Plays hockey. Yeah. And just he did a documentary that's award winning. He is an all around superstar. And we have a partnership. So the Association of Mineral and Exploration has a partnership supporting the Bears Lair as one of our lead partners, supporting Indigenous youth to inspire and elevate and educate Indigenous youth all around. We offer this all around Canada. And your first camp that you're supporting, and the board is supporting, is an Indigenous Bears Lair youth camp for Indigenous kids 11 to 18 at Williams Lake. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's very serendipitous, and thank you very much. All of our camps, of course, have some sort of threaded information about people that sponsor it, and just about educating kids about mineral exploration, about how interesting the industry is, while learning about entrepreneurism and many other things. But I do believe that you have an opening day prior to the Roundup that allows youth to come in and learn about minerals and take a look and see and feel and be a part of it and get educated about that. Maybe you can talk about that.
Sure. And I have to say, Gina, thank you for re-prompting me on some of these key things that I should be saying here. I know our comms folks are very appreciative of that too. And yeah, the conference is January 20th to 23rd. Amazing sessions, speakers, and on the 19th, we have what's called Discovery Day. So it's free, open to the public, and that's where you can, bring your family, be able to, get a better understanding of what mineral exploration, what mining is about. But not just that, we have displays and we have, informative sessions that include all the things that are involved with natural resources, understanding, Indigenous led exploration items, to learn more about everything in and around the industry exploration. And I'm excited to be there for that whole day as well, to interact with any of the kiddos who are coming there. So please bring your family down there, bring your kids. It's a really, really fun time. It's a lot of great energy, and it's a great way to kick off the conference. And once again, free to the public, so come on down.
And where is the conference being held?
It's at the Vancouver Convention Center.
Excellent.
So,
and I know that if people want to, so a lot of industry leaders, people that are listening and watching our program, what can people expect to see at Roundup? What kind of subject matter and what kind of, I know that Chief Willie Sellers will be doing a keynote there. You'll be speaking as well, but there'll be lots of different networking events for industry and Indigenous communities to come together. How do people get tickets to this? You're probably, I would imagine, quite filled up with people that are having displays and booths and what have you, but how do people get involved with this?
So if you want to get involved in Roundup, if you go online to roundup.aame.ca or Google AAB Roundup 2025, you'll see where the information page can come up there. And there you can register for tickets. You can inquire about if you are a company or service and supply. If you want to get a booth there to showcase to folks in the conference, the programming is fantastic. We have incredible speakers, from prominent speakers all over the industry, from the investment community, from Indigenous communities who are actively involved in the industry, as well as key companies and key politicians who will be coming to speak as well. Like, we're really looking forward to having the premier there, the new minister, folks from Ottawa as well. So I think what really separates Roundup from a lot of the other conferences is that you can usually go to other conferences and you see a speaker or you see someone else and they seem very far away or not approachable. Whereas at Roundup, it's super interactive.
Mm-hmm.
There's events going on, evening events, right? Different groups putting on different activities, is that, you can genuinely have conversations about some of the subject matter. The other great thing at Roundup is we see in this year, there's a lot of great, whether it's companies, service and supply folks who are involved in engagement and consultation, as well as nations who are showcasing the mineral potential in their own lands and educating folks on here's how you would engage, who have separate rooms and booths to be able to teach that to people, right? So if you're in the industry and you want to even just learn more about all of this stuff, this is that place where you can come do that.
Yeah, no, 100%. It is a blast. It's educational and a lot of fun. And then I think for other people as well, just to get to know Keerit. I mean, you are one of those, you're like Gina. You just have energy, right? Right when you meet you, you're like, hey man, how's it going? Always like that and so approachable. So it's just love seeing you.
That's very flattering. My fans is not as great yet, nor is my gregarious, amazing person. So Gina, I mean, that is the nicest thing I think anyone's ever said, but I still have a long way to go to get to that incredible level.
Look at that smile.
Look at that smile. Who can deny that? That's beautiful. I think it's such a sign of the times to see such progression, so much inclusivity, so much diversity, and so much uplifting of values on not just on the Indigenous lens, but all cultural values about preserving the land and listening to our elders and supporting the youth, and then holding a gathering place where people can come together and learn more. Like you mentioned, education is power. And obviously with your 3 degrees, you're the most powerful person in the room. I love how you said that your dad said you just wanted to avoid real life. Well, now you're in real life with all of those. And being a lawyer and coming into an industry that's mining and exploration, that has all of those backgrounds and oh, well, wish we had a legal opinion. Actually, I am a lawyer, so my brother always loved to say that, even if you're a recovering lawyer. What would your advice be to companies that are watching what you're doing right now? Because I know there's a lot of exploration companies, and I'm going to put a plug out for one of our favorite companies that support so many initiatives, including your initiatives with AME, which is tech. And they are doing incredible things. They supported us with the Bears Lair. They're supporting with camps. They're one of the biggest sponsors for the Roundup coming up. What would your advice be to mining companies on how to develop some really intentional and authentic reconciliation with the nations that they have done capital projects on in the past, or they want to repair relationships or develop relationships or maintain relationships?
Yeah, I think all across the industry is to just meaningfully connect and engage. And the thing that we have to all do this together is, there'll be some great wins, but it'll also take time, right? It's not going to happen overnight. And if we have that patience, compassion, but also to listen, right? To say, what do you need as a community? And if some of that answer is time, or if some of those answers is, we'd love to see more people in our community in your company or in your boardroom or in your leadership positions who can start driving these things with our community. I think that's how you can start, doing that. If we go in with the attitude of these things aren't zero sum, they're positive sum, right? Like when we think of the words like diversity or inclusion or reconciliation, no one's losing anything for it. Everyone's
right.
gaining because
Yeah.
it's in peace, right? Where we're I think, and tech has been a phenomenal leader in that.
Yeah.
Going not only, I think, by example, but supporting the industry all across the value chain, right? Like understanding that, if you're a junior exploration company, you might not have the personnel or the funds to be able to do this as much, but with that support and that community support, or even supporting initiatives and groups like AME and Roundup, is we are then able to provide those like supports and that education. So I think is just do what you can, identify the low hanging fruit. And if it's, hey, we want to mentor, young people in your community. I've seen amazing junior exploration companies in all over BC. One was called Atlas over in the East, who started an internship program for young Indigenous peoples in the community, right? And they have a staff at around 20 or 30, but that's how you can at least start doing this.
Yeah.
So, use best efforts, identify where those needs are. If it's something as simple as like, we want to help fund an initiative, we want to help bring in, students, do that. But if it's, you have the ability to say, we want to fund a major, youth initiative, we want to sponsor a Bears Lair youth camp, we want to bring in, people in our leadership team, do that as well.
Yeah, so well said. And thank you so much for taking the time today. And you're just so authentic, and just love seeing you. And we'll see you, well, hopefully tomorrow night.
Yes, we are going to see you. Can you believe our audience and our listeners that Keerit did not want to sit in traffic for an hour? Just kidding. Oh, it's so nice to see you and take the time and see your bright and wonderful face, your persona. Everything that you're doing is incredibly amazing and inspiring. And we just can't wait to continue the journey, and so many exciting things coming up for 2025. So thank you for your time with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, before I go, I want to share one more thing. It's just for everyone listening. We can do this. And in honor of the late, great Murray Sinclair, is that, he said, we've shown you the mountaintop, we've shown you the peak, we call upon you to do the climbing. In honor of him, we have to keep climbing. Let's just find the path and find the speed and find the pace that works for everyone. But we can do this.
What
Perfect.
a great way to end this.
What a great man.
Yes. Thank you so much. We so appreciate it. And lifelong friends forever. And we will continue these conversations. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it.
See you tomorrow.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Lair. Please follow us, download this episode, and follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok.